What position is Jonathan Kuminga going to play in the 2024-25 NBA season for your Golden State Warriors? That's what we're going to be discussing on today's edition of Warriors Today by Chat Sports, as Steve Kerr and Jonathan Kuminga seem to have differing opinions on where the fourth-year athletic wing should be playing this season. And I say wing, but is he even going to be playing there? That's going to be discussed on today's show. But before we get into all of that, listen, I looked at the Warriors schedule and I was like, which Chat Sports team is coming up first on Golden State's schedule this year? And it happens to be the reigning champion Boston Celtics. So I went to Allie Barefoot and I was like, the Warriors are going to whoop y'all's butts when we match up in early November. And she was like, nah. And you know what? On top of that, your channel stinks. There's no chance you guys can get 400 likes on today's video. We're going to outlike you by far. And I was like, are you crazy? I got faith in Dub Nation. So if you hate the Celtics and you guys want to prove Allie Barefoot wrong, go on ahead down below and smash that thumbs up icon, like today's video, and we can get the season off to a good start, maybe get a win over the defending champs. What's going on, Dub Nation? You're watching Warriors Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Tyler Smith, and on today's show, Steve Kerr, Jonathan Kuminga. They have different thoughts as to where Kumimga should play in the Golden State Warriors lineup this season. I know, it's crazy. We're getting 3 weeks away from the regular season. The Warriors are in Hawaii right now in training camp. First preseason game's coming up on Saturday against the Clippers. Can't wait for the Dubs to be back on the court, but how are the Dubs? What Dubs are we going to see on the court opening night? That's what we're trying to decipher as we're here in training camp. Here's what Steve Kerr had to say back in April during his exit interviews about where he thinks that Jonathan Kuminga is best suited on the court. He says, I think that one thing that was interesting for us is that when we made the shift in the starting lineup mid-season and had Draymond at the 5 and Wiggs and JK at the 4 or at the 3 and the 4 combined, it was very helpful for JK to get the ball with more space, get downhill. Sounds like somebody who's playing on the perimeter, no? I think it unlocks some of the things that he can do. Then he got hurt, and our defense was at its best with Trace and Draymond. That meant it was more difficult to play JK at the 3 because you don't have the spacing. And he's not a natural 3 at this point. Decision-making, ball handling as things to note that Jonathan Kuminga was lacking in last season. Now, for Jonathan Kuminga to be playing the small forward where he wants to play this season, Steve Kerr said way back when that he had to make himself more versatile this season, had to make himself fit in more different lineup combinations so that he is willing to able to be played at the 3 at the small forward position. Now, his three-point shot, the spacing, remember Steve Kerr, that's what he just mentioned, that it's not really advantageous to be playing Jonathan Kuminga at the 3 when you have two players at the 4 and the 5 who really don't space the floor as well. Draymond shot well from three-point percentage last season, but on very low volume, and we know that Trace Jackson-Davis isn't a floor spacer at this point. Another key area of development for Jonathan Kuminga that Steve Kerr wanted him to focus on was the passing department, wanted him to be able to create more for others, wanted him to be able to facilitate more and initiate more offense, as Golden State doesn't have too many facilitators on this team as of now. So, did Jonathan Kuminga work on many of those things? We'll talk about that more on today's video. But here's more for what Steve Kerr had to say recently about where Jonathan Kuminga is going to play. So he said he's definitely a small forward if we've got a shooting 5 on the floor. That's what we were just talking about. He's kind of along the same lines of where he was back in April. Because then all the skill stuff that you want to have, you want out of a 3, attacking the rim, getting there, is open. Now you've got a spread floor. So if we're playing Trace and Draymond, I'm going to have a hard time playing JK at the 3. This was just yesterday. I mean, it's crazy. Let's see what happens with Kyle Anderson. Let's see what happens with a healthy Gary Payton. And hopefully there are more combinations that we can play this year where JK does play a little bit more 3, and that if he shoots it well enough and quickly enough to force defenses to come out at him. So Steve Kerr is still very concerned with Jonathan Kuminga playing at the small forward position this season. He doesn't believe that Jonathan Kuminga has become a floor spacer, it seems. And they've been in practice for a couple days now, so Steve Kerr has seen the guy play, I'd assume, and maybe apparently to him, the three-point shot has not gotten to where it needs to be for him to be confident in Jonathan Kuminga playing at that small forward. You know who is confident in Jonathan Kuminga playing small forward? Jonathan Kuminga. He says, I know I'm a small forward. He's uber confident that is where his skill set is most adapted to. It's interesting, though, because so far in his career, we haven't really seen him playing too much at the 3. That spot's been occupied by Andrew Wiggins. According to Basketball Reference, Jonathan Kuminga has only played small forward for 5% of his entire young NBA career up to this point. So is he going to be playing a ton on the wing this year? I don't know. I hope so, because I want Jonathan Kuminga to become a focal point in this offense. You just spent an entire summer not being willing to trade Jonathan Kuminga to go get guys who could score on the perimeter. Like, I think he needs to be given a green light in terms of opportunity this year to go out and create for himself. Hopefully he has taken strides to be able to do that. But, man, you just wouldn't trade the guy for Paul George or Lauri Markkanen. And now you're saying you're going to stick him at the 4 spot, put him in the dunker spot down low, and not let him be a focal point in your offense? Somebody who's going to have the ball in his hands and ready to shoot for a large portion of your season? That seems a little counterintuitive to me if you're asking this guy to become the next, next budding star for Golden State. The next, Kawhi Leonard, if you're thinking about what he did for the Spurs way back when Tim Duncan was aging. That's what you're asking Jonathan Kuminga to do. You're lining him up to pay him a ton of money next year. Help him be a focal point of your offense. So, as far as what Golden State's wing depth looks like on this roster right now, I've had Jonathan Kuminga here all summer. That's where I thought the man's going to play. I thought he's going to be a small forward on this team. I thought he was going to be prioritized in this lineup. I don't know if that's going to be the case anymore. I also had him in the front court depth, but Andrew Wiggins, he's here as well. Looks like he's going to be trusted as the secondary scoring option next to Steph Curry this year, according to our guy Steve Kerr. I don't really tend to agree with Steve Kerr on a lot of things, if you guys haven't been able to tell. Kyle Anderson, obviously, we'll see how he fits in and if he's going to be playing more front court, more center than, necessarily on the wing or not. And then Moses Moody could be the sacrificial lamb of Steve Kerr's lack of rotations and lack of consistent rotations for Golden State. I hope that's not the case, though. As far as the front court goes, is this where Jonathan Kuminga is going to be playing most of his run? I mean, you guys got to also remember, Steve Kerr said he's not going to play the 3 unless they have a shooting center in the lineup. Well, they only have one shooting center signed on a contract right now, and it's a 2-way deal. That's Quentin Post. How much is he going to be up playing regular season minutes for Golden State this year? I have no idea, and I'm not too optimistic that it's many. Kyle Anderson, is he necessarily a shooting center? He shot 40% from 3 2 years ago, but I don't know. His shot was shaky last year. He had to fix some stuff mechanically over the summer. I'm not too confident in that. Draymond Green. Kevon Looney, actually, he said he's going to be playing shooting a lot more threes this year. Is he going to be a shooting center that allows Jonathan Kuminga to play more at the 3? I hope that Jonathan Kuminga's 3-point shot has just excelled to a point to where he is a floor spacer, is a viable option at the small forward spot. But hey, I believe in Jonathan Kuminga. I want to hear from you guys now. Do you believe in JK heading into year 4? Do you think he's taken the necessary strides this offseason to be able to play the position that he wants to play and to be able to play the position that best suits his skill set and helps the Warriors succeed at the highest rate? Let me know down in the comment section by typing Y for yes, typing N for no. YouTube might throw you an ad break right here. So take the time, go answer our question, and we'll be right back with the rest of today's show. I have concerns with Jonathan Kuminga playing the 4. I really do. Listen, I'm not the only one who does, but as far as just the pure size on Jonathan Kuminga and the things we've seen so far throughout his career, he just doesn't scream power forward to me. And his own teammate, Draymond Green, thinks the same way. Here's what Draymond had to say on Jonathan Kuminga. I think he's a 3. Straight up, bluntly, I think he's a 3. Small forward. That's always been my opinion. To play the 4, it requires a certain skill set, a certain knowledge, and a certain understanding of that position to do that. Oh, not going to lie. Draymond, you are being a bit cryptic here, and honestly, it almost seems like a backhanded compliment to Jonathan Kuminga, like, oh yeah, I think he's a 3. That's where he's best suited. Doesn't really have the IQ and intangibles and skill set to play at the 4, so I think he's a 3. Seems a little bit like a backhanded compliment. Seems a little bit cryptic, but that's because this could be a possibility right here. Draymond might also not want to play the 5 too much. He also might be trying to kind of protect his position that he's played for all these years in Golden State. Because, I mean, think about it. When they were winning all their titles with KD, and even beforehand, you had Bogut at the 5. You had Zaza Pachulia at the 5. You had Kevon Looney at the 5. You had JaVale McGee running at the 5. Like, you had all these big-size centers for such a long period of time where Draymond strictly played the 4. Now, these last couple of seasons and into this one, Steve Kerr seems to think of Draymond as traditionally a 5, a center in this Warriors lineup. The rebounding is going to be a problem this year. And that's honestly part of the reason why I'm concerned about Jonathan Kuminga playing the 4. Because he doesn't rebound. He has not shown a concerted effort to rebound the basketball at a high energy and high level rate this year. He doesn't have great size to guard actual power forwards. He's 6'7", and 225, I believe Jonathan Kuminga is. The average power forward is like 6'9", 245. So 2 inches of height and 20 pounds of muscle is what Jonathan Kuminga is fighting an uphill battle for, defending 4s in this league. And then protecting the rim. I know Jonathan Kuminga is an athletic freak, but has anybody seen him necessarily be a consistent rim protector throughout his season? Somebody who challenges shots at the rim, a solid effort defender every single trip up and down the floor? That hasn't been Jonathan Kuminga's calling card yet. He's just been a human highlight film. So at this point, I have concerns about Jonathan Kuminga playing the 4. I think he's best suited at the 3. I'd even argue that Andrew Wiggins is probably better suited at the 4. And what has Jonathan Kuminga been working on all summer long? Things that threes do. Things that perimeter players do. Not guys like an Aaron Gordon who sits in the dunker spot. That's not what he's working on this offseason. We're going to talk about the progressions that he's made this offseason in just a moment. But first, I got to get you guys absolutely fresh this fall, rocking a Warriors polo. Not my Warriors polo, not this absolute gem right here, but our friends at Fanatics are selling these fresh Warriors polos 3 weeks ahead of the NBA season. You can get them right here using this link, chatsports.com/Warriors polo. We got them in the blue, we got them in the black, we got them in the white, we got them in the yellow, any color you want, and you might even find yourself a 25% off deal. Go get one today. Chatsports.com/Warriors polos to get yours. That link will be in the comments and description of today's video to make it easy for you guys. So here's what Jonathan Kuminga had to say on the strides that he's made this offseason to make that leap and potentially even be an all-star this season for the Golden State Warriors. He said, all summer, I've been working on my threes against defense, without defense, catch and shoot. Just trying to get my catch and shoot percentage way higher because it's going to help with everybody. It's going to open up the floor even more. I've been working on that, and that's my main focus. Interesting. Jonathan Kuminga working on threes all across the floor with defense, without defense, different spots, catch and shoot, off the dribble. That's something that a perimeter player does. That's not something that somebody who runs the baseline and sits in that dunker spot. That's not that obligation. Jonathan Kuminga shot a career low 32.1% three-point percentage in 2023. And you look back to his second season, a season before this, shot like 37% on the same volume. So clearly, what Jonathan Kuminga is going to need to do is just have more volume. He's going to need to have a bigger opportunity. This is going to need to be something he progressively gets better at all season long. We saw that last year, actually. He shot a horrendous 32% for the full season, but from like January to April, the guy was shooting 36% around league average. So more opportunity, and that's when he got more opportunity in the second half of the season, is what's going to propel Jonathan Kuminga to be a bigger offensive weapon on the perimeter. These stats aren't great, man. These stats are not great. I mean, Jonathan Kuminga saying he needs to work on his catch and shoot. You're damn right you need to work on your catch and shoot. 35.2% on all catch and shoot attempts. That ranked the third worst on the entire team. Catch and shoot three-point percentage, that actually ranked the actual worst on the entire team at 32.8%. Jonathan Kuminga clearly needs to be a better three-point shooter this year, and maybe, according to Steve Kerr, has not become one. So that's why he's been relegated to a potential power forward spot on this team. But I don't think it's going to be successful. I just think this is a double-edged sword for Golden State. But whatever, it doesn't matter. Jonathan Kuminga is just focused on having a successful season. Here's what he said about the plans for him in the roster, in the rotation, in the depth chart, that it doesn't matter, small forward or whatever, I'm just going to get better at it. And that's all we can ask for from Jonathan Kuminga, right? I mean, he was pretty solid last year. Jonathan Kuminga, last year, we know what he was capable of. He was very solid. And per 36, he was one of the best in the entire NBA as for a player his age. The only 21-year-old to ever have these type of stats in NBA history. The guy was an absolute freak. And I think, based off of what he did last season, he can reach these type of numbers if given the opportunity. He played less than 30 minutes a game last year. I think it was about 28, 29. And if he puts up these numbers this year, that's very successful. I think he could be a capable secondary scorer next to Stephen Curry, especially if his catch and shoot three-point percentage increases to, give me 37% for Jonathan Kuminga on a little bit higher volume, maybe 3 to 4 attempts per game, and we could be seeing something really special here for the fourth-year wing. And he could get the money that he wants. He could get paid the amount that he's looking for in free agency next year, which is right now a max contract. Golden State's not really willing to come off of that deal, but hey, Jonathan Kuminga, he, in my opinion, has the ability to get that done. So overall, what Jonathan Kuminga needs to do is more than be able to catch and shoot, though. He needs to be able to put the ball on the deck. He needs to be able to create for himself. He needs to be able to create for others. Remember, Steve Kerr said he needs to be more versatile. He needs to be able to get others involved. Passing is decision-making is a big area of focus for Jonathan Kuminga heading into this season. Did he make those strides this offseason? Only time will tell. We'll find out maybe on Saturday, I guess. I mean, there's not much you can take away from preseason. Might have to wait until October 23rd against the Portland Trail Blazers to figure all this out. But I personally am sitting here thinking Why isn't Jonathan Kuminga going to be playing on the perimeter this year? I don't think he's a 4. I don't think defensively that's the right option for Golden State to be putting him in. And offensively, I think his skill set provides more than that, playing outside on the perimeter and getting downhill. But that's just my opinion. This is why we have this show, so we can get your opinion down in the comments section. What say you? Should Jonathan Kuminga play small forward or play power forward? What position should he play for the Warriors this season? Type SF for small forward, or type PF for power forward down in the comments section. And as always, make sure you are subscribed to the channel because we're bringing you nonstop Golden State Warriors content all season long. I mean, we're on, October 3rd right now? 20 days away from Golden State Warriors basketball. Less than 3 weeks. Lock us in. We'll have you covered all season long. YouTube.com/WarriorsTV. We'll see you in the next one. Let's go Dubs.